Not really focus on the innovation. I'm going to give a general overview of the youth in Malawi and what is happening. So we all know what youth, the definition of the youth globally is anyone who is between the age of 10 to 35 years old. And this is regardless of the sex, their culture, or their physical marital status. And then so for us in Malawi, we have a lot of issues that we're dealing with amongst the youth. We have the youth in our policy. We define the youth to encompass anyone living with HIV. We are not leaving out anyone with disabilities and anyone in prisons, especially in juvenile center, as long as they qualify in the definition of the youth, then we are also including them. And then all the youth, whether they are in the rural areas or they are in the urban areas. And in terms of education, our youth education in Malawi, we have figures that say that our youth education is at 81% literacy rate for males and around 79% for females. We see females lagging behind. And in terms of as the ages, from 10 to 19 years, most of them are going to be either in primary school or secondary school. And then late teens, we see them in the universities or in colleges. And then in the 25s, some of them will be working. And then in terms of employment, this is one of my graphs. We see a very high unemployment rate among the youth. And we also have all other issues of the quality of employment. We find that a lot of youth are not employed in high quality employment, where high quality means maybe white collar jobs. A lot of them will be involved like in casual work or in farm work, which is low paying. So that's the definition of low quality work, low paying jobs, either in family setups or where they are employed, they are not formally employed. There'll be a lot of them will be in informal employment. So even though the youth comprise almost a bigger percentage of the population, and we are considering them as a demographic dividend, we're not really utilizing them because they are the energetic ones. We're not really utilizing them in the formal employment sector. And then in terms of COVID, in Malawi, so far we've registered 61,865 cases, 2,304 being deaths. This is only in 2021 from April to November 2021. And we see that in terms of who it has affected, it's mostly the youth from the group 10 to 19 up to 30 to 39, that group has been highly affected by COVID, although we did not see a lot of death from that particular group, but in terms of getting the COVID, we had a high number of cases amongst the youth, which is unlike in other places where it was being reported that the older groups are the ones that are being affected. Here, it was actually the youth that are getting more COVID. And more of those were male than females. So COVID has brought its own challenges amongst us, other than the ones that we already had. In terms of education, we've seen, as someone has already described, we've seen the shift because schools were disrupted, we had to close schools, and because we have very poor digital infrastructure, we had to rely on people going back to school and then closing the schools and then staggering the semesters so that we have little number of people on campus. Like for us, that's what we did. And then because we have not digitalized our teaching systems, it's been very challenging for the youth. Youth have been having to stay long at home. They are not, you see that I'll just be speaking because we have not done an empirical study to study the effects of youth and having the numbers that I can mention. But a lot of the youth that were also employed as casual labor or informal employment have lost jobs because companies had to close and other people had gone out of business. So that is what COVID has done for us in Malawi. We have poor digital infrastructure where it is working in other parts of the country. Maybe 50% of the country doesn't have internet connectivity. So as you can see already, that is a big challenge. So far, there hasn't been any initiative to improve that. So one of the recommendations that we've been making is that the government should look at subsidizing the cost of the internet so that kids can be able to access education even when they are at home. So in closing, I would say that even though we have the different policies in Malawi that have included youth, we should move to implementation, because there is a disconnect between the policies that are there and the action that is happening on the ground. So that is what I can say in closing. Thank you so much.
I'd like to speak about the strategy for the Seong-Nam Youth Foundation under Corona. First, Corona situation in Korea. Second, there is the consideration of the Youth Foundation. Third, the strategy for the Youth Foundation. Fourth, predictions for the future and suggestions. First, the Corona situation in Korea. Because of social distancing regulations, the youth center was temporarily closed from February 6, 2010 to December 31st. We couldn't do anything. 30 of our staff had to work from home. We couldn't do anything except through Zoom meetings. The second is the consideration of the Youth Foundation. First, are youth activities possible in this situation? Second, what kind of activities are possible? Third, is there any solution? Here, I'd like to suggest 3 keywords as the solution we used. First, metaverse. Second, on and on. Third, youth play right. First, metaverse. In our youth centers, we often use 3 kinds of metaverses. The first is Ghetto Town. We had special lectures by famous overseas professors and exchanges with other cities. Second is eFriend. Youth exchanges, sports competitions, and recreational games were held with other cities. Third, Geppetto. A cyber youth center was built in a virtual space. At first, our offline event was conducted online through the YouTube, and it was the first youth program broadcast on YouTube in Korea. And it was a great success. And now the number of views has over 11,000. The second strategy is on and on. This was an emergency support project where food and toys were delivered directly to the home. Mentoring program, matching college students and elementary school students to help them study, and offer emotional support was provided through free group counseling. The third strategy was to protect youth right to play and rest according to the UNESCO Convention on Children. All workers in the youth center painted the ground in front of youth center to provide space for playing. I would like to suggest 3 things. First, the age of the metaverse has now begun. I believe it is necessary to develop various youth programs by utilizing Metaverse. Second, I think it is necessary to develop a new international exchange program in a new age. In the Welcome to Seongnam program, 50 youth foreigners from 20 countries and 20 Korean youths have met 12 times on Zoom. I look forward to many international exchanges and cooperation programs in the future on Metaverse. Third, we need to focus on the right of youth. Due to the coronavirus, many young people have difficulties and are depressed. In particular, I believe that the right to play and rest should be emphasized to create a healthy and happy environment during the childhood. Thank you for your attention.